Greetings, first of all. I would like to begin by hinting you a very quintessential problem. The world is not the same. Some of you may be skeptical, and I fully understand that, while the other majority may be asking, well, yeah, it's not the same, that's quite obvious. There's nothing preposterous about that. What's the point of saying it? Well, if there is something that fundamentally changed its shape throughout history, it's morality. And this is our thing, and this is what we are going to talk today, actually. God is dead, and we are the grained mind 150 years ago. His name was Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher. And some of you may be thinking that it's not that relevant nowadays, is it? Well, despite all your thoughts, it is more relevant and more actual than any other philosopher. We live in a world ruled by corporatism and capitalism, which is great. But what are the ethical implications? We are never thinking on this, and there are plenty of them, because in a world of corporatism, we are seeking meaning in corporatist ethics. We are seeking meaning in what is maximizing the goods, the outcomes, the values that we are having. But instead of creating, of having our own ideas and our own way of being, we are always seeking profit. And what's the consequence? Well, basically, we do not have a good and an evil anymore. Good and evil are not anymore universal laws. They are relative. Do you know why? Because if I maximize the profit, I may minimize the profit for someone else. Therefore, my good is not equal to the other's good. And if 1,000 years ago, good was defined by Christian or Judaist ethics, nowadays, good is defined by what is maximizing profit. Therefore, morality has become relativistic. And this moral relativism implies that morality is not anymore an absolute. And in a world without absolutes, we are finding nothingness. Nihilism is the consequence of our modern world. And we do not wish nihilism, because nihilism is destroying the very quintessential of us. It's letting us fall into despair and sorrow, and we do not want nihilism. Hence, I bring before you today our Savior, the one that should redeem humanity from nihilism, from nothingness. His name is the Übermensch. And before delving more, I just want to specify that this concept, invented by Friedrich Nietzsche, has nothing to do with the dramas of the 20th century, because indeed the name was used also in the 30s and 40s by extremist movements, but just to be clear, it has nothing to do with it. Nietzsche's Übermensch is not the Übermensch invented by the German Nazis, just to be clear. Let's go back to the Übermensch. But before understanding the concept, I want you to understand why it's so useful. So I'm going to talk about myself. You know me every day. You know how I am. And you know that every day, regardless of whether I'm wearing a suit. Obviously, there are plenty of gossips, there are plenty of bad looks. And psychologically speaking, it's really dreadful to hold all that. It's really notorious for yourself to see how many people are watching you with anger just because you want to be different. And anger, not disgust. And this is because for example, if I ask them, why is it bad to wear a suit every day at school? They're going to answer it dogmatically, because it's bad. Well, according to what? According to what? To the modern ethics that are seeking value, that are seeking goods, that are seeking profit? Certainly not. And here comes my Übermensch. Übermensch is a creator. The name says it. Etymologically speaking, the Übermensch should be something beyond a human. Über in German means beyond, and Mensch means man, human. Therefore, the Übermensch should be an overman or a superman. What is Nietzsche saying with this concept, with the Übermensch? In Das Buch Zarathustra, one of the most remarkable pieces of writings, he is defining the Übermensch as being a creator, not just like the future of humanity, not just like the future evolutionary state of a human. He's not taking it in a Darwinist way of seeing things. It's not like the Übermensch is going to be there because we're constantly evolving, like from monkeys to humans, and from humans we're going to evolve into something beyond. It's not that way. Actually, he's saying that the Übermensch is like a tightrope, a rope over an abyss, a rope between the beast. Actually, he's defining the Übermensch as being the place where we should arrive. And the human is being the tightrope between the beast and the Übermensch. Human is not an absolute. Human is something to be overcome. And the Übermensch is the place where we're going to arrive in the end. We as humans, we are stretched over an abyss, over the abyss of nothingness, over nihilism. Therefore, the Übermensch, that is our ideal, is staying there in the other side of the cliff, waiting for us, for any of us. What is the Übermensch doing there? He's just creating new values. Transcending himself by creating values, instead of accepting the slave morality, instead of taking the moral values imposed by society as a dogma. He's rethinking his existence and he's rethinking his moral values. He's defining his own good and evil in a nutshell. Now, how does this relate to the story of the suit? Nietzsche defined 3 stages of metamorphosis for the soul. Before endeavoring to overcome yourself, we are like a camel. Imagine the camel, an animal that is suffering in a horrendous desert, all the pains, and it's obedient to its master, and it's just enduring the dreadful aspects of its existence without doing nothing at all. This is the human before going into this existential journey of overcoming itself. And I was like that as well. At the very beginning, I was saying, yeah, well, if everyone wears a suit, why not? If everyone doesn't wear a suit, why should I wear a suit? Why should I be original? If all the generation is the same, why should I be special then? It's going to be wrong, it's going to be bad. People are going to stare at me and say, well, what are you doing here? Why are you being like this? You're kind of lame, you're kind of weird, don't you? But, as always, revolution flourishes. And the very revolutionary being of us comes out and tries to say, well, I'm here, I'm existing here. Why should I care about your thoughts in a way? Why should I be concerned that you hate me for what I am? It's my right to be what I want to be. And this is the moment when the soul becomes like a lion. In Nietzsche's philosophy, the lion is the moment of the soul, that stage of metamorphosis, when the soul is revolting and trying to push the moral values away from himself or herself. He's destroying the morality of slaves, and he's opposing all the norms that society imposes. He's original. But he's not a creator now. He's just fighting. In my case, this is the moment when I decided, yeah, I want to wear a suit. I'm gonna wear it. What you gonna say? Well, you're kind of weird. Why are you wearing this suit? Because I want to. This was my answer. This was the stage of the lion, when I was doing it because I was trying to be revolutionary, to be against the system. And this is concerning every one of us, the moment when we try to let revolution flourish. And afterwards, after the revolution falls away, comes the child, the last stage of metamorphosis. In Nietzsche's philosophy, the child is the moment when the man actually starts to create something, create moral values, create his own or her own good and evil. In this moment, I had the legitimacy, the intrinsic legitimacy to say, yes, it is good to wear a suit. It's not just, I'm not wearing it because I want to, but because it's good. Why? Because I was able to define my own good and evil. This is the last stage of metamorphosis for a human. Does that imply that I am a Übermensch? No. No one is a Übermensch. Because, first of all, it's a concept. And we cannot create a dogma out of a concept. But we are just getting closer and closer to the quintessence of the Übermensch with every aspect of our existence and every revolution that flourishes in ourselves is substituted by creation. And our journey as humans in our life is to overcome ourselves, even though we will never get there, even though we will never be a Übermensch. but we can just slightly revolutionize our being and become a greater version of ourselves. I'm going to go back to the problem of nowadays ethics. We are seeking profit. This is, if I had to create a metaphysical law that would describe humanity nowadays, a moral metaphysical law would be the will for profit. Why not apply Nietzsche there? Nietzsche is saying that the individuals are seeking a will to power. This being said, this will to power is pushing them to overcome themselves. So, instead of seeking profit and just be tied to the capitalistic norms of society and just following the slave morality and just seeking profit over and over without any break, without any stop, I have an alternative. Why not seeking overcoming? Why not creating other values? Because in a world without values, in a world where profit is ruling, we need to create our own values. We're responsible for creating. You can take it in Sartre's way of seeing things. Like, we are so free and we have to create our own values. And we can take a part of the Nietzschean philosophy in order to see that we can become a greater version of ourselves. And we can create our own good and evil. And we do not need someone to tell us what is good and not. Because nowadays, and I'm trying to emphasize this, there is no such thing as good or bad. Because society is based on corporatism, and what is good is what's maximizing my profit. Therefore, what I'm going to seek in the future is not to maximize the profit, but to create my own good. The good is not going to be anymore to maximize profit, but it's going to be a good of mine, defined by myself. And this is why I want you to delve a bit into the story and understand all the consequences that the Übermensch has. And that's why I think the Übermensch is the only feasible solution for the future. For a world without morality, without universal morality, a world ruled by moral relativism, perhaps Nietzsche is something to reflect on a bit, isn't it? Thank you so much.